students are here to talk about their experiences, to share the connection that they've gotten from their service experiences off campus and on campus with their academics and the programs here at school. Now, on your tables, you'll see a bio list of our student panelists, so that we won't take too much time going into the organization that they work with or the mission or some of the work that the kids have done. There's a bio and a student statement, an organization there right on the paper. You can refer to that so you know who's talking and what they've done. We really want to get right into sort of the process of how these young people became so passionate about doing the work that they do. And this isn't for hours. Forget service requirements. These young people here are not here for anybody's requirement other than that. They are so moved and engaged in this work. When I asked them to be panelists here for all of you, they didn't flinch one bit. They fought to get here. It was a wonderful experience to hear how much they wanted to share with you. So we're going to get into the process of how they got involved, because this is about service learning. It's not about community service. We really want to emphasize that the service learning process is a series of 5 stages. Now, at Poly, we are in the toddler stage. We're in a toddler stage of service learning. We are learning how to be a service learning school. We're getting there, and for many of us, it's still a choice to go there. We are not shoving this down people's throats. It's something to adapt to really understand and believe in before you go for it. So because we're in this toddler phase, we're pulling resources. We're learning what the kids are doing out there already, and we're seeing how they're bringing it back to school and inspiring others and their teachers and administrators to really delve more into, see how can we create courses, or how can we implement more service learning units and experiences right into our classrooms. And yes, we do have some things that they are being generated out of our classrooms. So this is a process for us, so wherever you are in your service learning journey, you are welcome to be here. So let's begin, and thank you again for being here. Each of you does have a really strong relationship with the organization that you've either been involved with for years or just recently, and it's had such an impact on you and formed you, your character, your motivations, what you get up for, we'd love to hear about what that process was like. So I guess the first question is, as we look into this investigation of the beginning phases, can you tell us how and why you got started working with the organization, and maybe what was your inspiration or call to action, and how did that relationship grow? So all of that in about 2 minutes each. Okay, so I'd like to begin, and please use the microphone.
Hello everyone, my name is Michael. I'm a junior at Poly, and I work with the organization I am here to represent or talk about my experience with is Reading Partners. So I began working with Reading Partners in my freshman year, and when I heard about Reading Partners, I thought, well, reading has always been such an important part of my life. I was always the kid that was, brought books to school, was reading when they weren't supposed to be, recess maybe not, but I would stay in and read books. And I thought, well, I didn't realize that perhaps that opportunity or that capacity to read might not be extended to all students at the same age or with the same accessibility that I had when I was in elementary school. So I thought Reading Partners was the first program for me to work with. And during my first year working with them, I realized, I wasn't there simply to tutor them or to help them learn to read, but, as I tutored them, I was also receiving their energy and receiving their love for education that they had, despite perhaps falling behind their grade level expectations for reading. And so that, desire to learn, that desire for education, has also inspired me to, help host an on-site tutor orientation, as you can read on the little thing about me. To help my fellow Poly students become Reading Partners tutors. I worked with them over this past summer to get ready to prepare the Reading Partners rooms for this school year, so that all the schools in the Pasadena area could have Reading Partners facilities that are well prepared and have all the materials they need. And yeah, Reading Partners is my organization.
Thank you. Now, quickly, Victor is not on your list. Victor is a late ad, and he practically jumped in and just, stage dove onto here. He really wanted to be part of this, but he's not on your list, so Victor.
Yeah, so I'm Victor Sweezy. I'm a senior, and my organization is called Inquilinos Unidos, which means Tenants United in Spanish, and it's a small grassroots tenants' rights advocacy organization located in Pico Union, which is near downtown. It's a very low-income, majority immigrant neighborhood across the freeway from the Staples Center and all that development. I live in Highland Park, and over the course of my life, Highland Park has radically changed. Anyone who lives around here will probably know. It's from really a majority working class neighborhood with kind of a working class mentality, and it's into the center of a national trend of gentrification, and through that, housing prices have skyrocketed. The identity of the neighborhood has really changed, and unfortunately, lots of people who have lived in Highland Park for generations have been forced to move out of their homes or even onto the streets. And so last summer I decided that I really wanted to involve myself with housing advocacy, and I got involved through one of my dad's friends from their punk rock days back in the 1980s. Is the leader of the Healthy Homes Coalition, which deals with lead paint in homes. So I got involved with her initially, and then she put me in touch with Luis Cabrales, who's the executive director of Inquilinos Unidos. And I started going in over the summer. I was really intimidating the first time I emailed him, because she told me it was going to be an entirely Spanish language internship. And I'm not a native Spanish speaker, although my Spanish lit teacher is right here. So I had to email him. I emailed him in Spanish. He responded in Spanish. I showed up at work the next day in this neighborhood I'd practically never been in, speaking only Spanish. But I immediately felt so welcome at the organization. There's only 3 full-time staff there. So when I walk in the doors, they have like 33% more workers, which is incredible. And so I've gotten more involved over the last few months, and I've been able to help out with this tenant leadership academy that they have, which I can go into detail about later. But anyway, so Inquilinos Unidos, that's my organization. Thanks.
Thanks, Victor. Ashley.
Hello, my name is Aisling Murrin, and I've been working with the Honeybee Conservancy for the last 3 or so years. So I got into their organization because I am a beekeeper. I keep bees in my backyard, and I've done that since like 5th grade, I think. And I just sort of fell into that. But once I started working in that community and talking to people who are beekeepers and community meetings and that sort of thing, I realized how much a problem honeybee decline is. So when we had service requirements our sophomore year, I started looking online for different organizations, and I got a few emails back from this site that sent me, volunteer, you might like, because you've told us your interests. And so I ran upon them, and they have had me. I'm one of their bee ambassadors, so I've gone and spoken at conferences and educational centers, that sort of thing, about honeybees, from biology to environmental impact, that sort of thing. And so one of their major goals is to provide education as well as actual beehives on campuses and in public places, that sort of thing. So I've done maintenance on those hives, and I've talked to people about the hives, demonstrations, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sai Desai, and I'm a junior, and I'm here to talk about my relationship with the International Rescue Committee, also known as the IRC, and they're located in Glendale, but they're also all over the United States and around the world. I got interested in working with this nonprofit because my life has been made possible by the kindness of strangers. So in 1965, Both pairs of my grandparents immigrated from India, and I'm aware of the fact that if it wasn't for strangers, I wouldn't be here today. So I've always been really interested in my immigrant history, and so by being able to help with this refugee nonprofit, I've really felt a connection with all the families that I help. So I worked with Central American minors in filling out their cases, but that program got shut down recently. Oh, I've been working there for the past 3 summers. So that program for Central American minors was shut down after my first year due to the new presidential administration. So then, because of staffing shortages and unexpected new cases, I was placed in charge of filling out Iranian refugee resettlement forms, which is basically for non-Muslim Iranians that are allowed to come to the United States. And it was a really jarring experience for me seeing these forms for families that look just like mine, like seeing a kid who was 7 who looks just like my sister, or a kid who was 16 who looked like me, and filling out their forms and understanding that they were fleeing from violence and that could have been my family or myself. So I've really been interested in the work with this nonprofit. The IRC has really fueled my interest in immigration and refugee policy in general, as I've started a club at school and put together an assembly and done a lot of other things based on my interests.
Thank you, Saya.
I'm Maggie. I'm a sophomore, and last year I was enrolled in a Latin American history class. And as part of that class, I started a pretty extensive research project on Nicaragua and the status of women in Nicaragua. And Ms. Lawrence encouraged me to reach out to an organization. So my partner and I, about halfway through the year, we Googled women's health organizations in Nicaragua, and the Lily Project popped up. After that, we sent them an email, and we started communicating with the Lily Project. And at first, it was purely for research purposes. We got to hear their stories about women living in rural communities in Nicaragua who were suffering from cervical cancer. We got to hear the stories of the founder, Aniaka, whose own mother passed away from cervical cancer when she was quite young. And that kind of naturally progressed into a relationship now where we work with the Lily Project to help them set up a new girls club in Granada, Nicaragua, that's aimed at educating girls about sex education and giving them a safe space in their communities. So I think what originally started as this research project for my class kind of naturally progressed into this relationship where we are helping each other and learning about each other's stories, and this collaboration between Polytechnic and the project.
Hi, my name is Ogechukwu Ogwoko, but you can call me Oge. My organization is Camp Crescent Moon, which is a camp for kids with sickle cell anemia. I've been volunteering for this organization since 7th grade, and I got started because my parents immigrated here from Nigeria, and so my mom was telling me about the different families that she grew up with and different kids that she knew who died of sickle cell. Sickle cell in Nigeria. Nigeria has the highest rate of sickle cell in all of Africa, and it's the cause of 8% of child mortality rate there. And the biggest spread of sickle cell is lack of education, of being aware that because it's a recessive gene, just checking and seeing if you do have that gene. And so what Camp Crescent Moon does is, because kids with sickle cell, they don't really have the opportunity to do things that I can, like running, playing activities. It gives them the opportunity to take care of their medical needs as well as participate in those child activities that allow us to have a youth. And when I saw that there are kids there that not only were similar to the experiences of my mom, but I recognized that I was fortunate enough to just do simple things that they couldn't. I started being an advocate by just spreading awareness about what sickle cell was. I do fundraiser activities and constantly there for any volunteering they do. But yeah.
Thank you.